Hello everyone. Today I have Sneha Mishra with me. Hi Sneha, welcome you to this channel.
Hi, Mansi. Thank you for having me.
Okay, introduce yourself, Sneha.
Yeah, so I'm Sneha. I'm currently I'm going to be an incoming engineer at Intuit, and I'll just be starting my co-op intern at Intuit soon. Apart from that, I really like to work with open source, so all sorts of open source programs wherever I can contribute, and I really love contributing to hackathons. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. So how did you landed this opportunity?
Yeah, basically, I was already a part of a session that Intuit had. So I just directly, from the HR, we received a mail to just there's this opportunity for an internship and you can apply for it. So I just put forward an application. So it was like a normal Google form. So there you just have to like write the basic details and put forward your updated resume. So that is what I did. And to answer this in terms for how the normal Intuit recruitment process works, so I think there's a lot of like hype around companies only coming to IITs or NITs and stuff. But with Intuit, the situation is that they have a lot of hiring drives, and they do it like whenever the season is there, like round around it, like they'll have like multiple hiring drives. So you just need to keep an eye out for wherever this happens, and they just have a normal form link you can apply there with your resume. It's very straightforward. In case you missed this opportunity of applying to the hiring drive, what you can do instead is to just get a referral from anyone working in the organization, and the interesting thing here is that the referral like does not even have to come from like a senior engineer like SD1 or SD2 profile. We as interns even had the opportunity to refer our friends. So you can even reach out to someone who has interned at Intuit previously, and they can also help you with the process.
Okay. What was the eligibility criteria for this internship role?
Yeah, the eligibility criteria for like the one that we got was like it should be above 7 GPA, and the subjects that you can like your bachelor's would be in could only be like computer science, information technology, and electrical or electronics background.
Okay. Any piece of advice for fellows applying off campus for this internship?
Yeah, as mentioned, just keep an eye out for the hiring drives. As I said, they have multiple hiring drives, so you just need to go there, apply, and if you fit the basic criteria that I just mentioned before, so you will receive like a link from them for like the coding test or whatever the process is. If you are a good fit, and in case you are not able to land miss the opportunity of applying for the hiring drive, just reach out for a referral to anyone working within the organization, and they would be really happy to do so.
Okay, great. How was the online assessment?
Yeah, so the online assessment, it was a 90-minute coding round, and we had four questions. So one question was based on your matrix manipulation sort of. One question was based on string manipulation. There was one question on like graph slash tree sort of a structure, and there was one question on dynamic programming. So this was how it was split up. So do you want me to go into the details now, or are you taking this up in a further question?
Yeah, in the details also. What was the level of the questions?
Yes, yeah. So the question I would say would be so there were two questions which I would say would fall in the easy to medium range, and the other two questions I would say like medium to hard. So the the dynamic programming question and the graph slash tree question. So you'll have to have some understanding to do that, and the time because you only have 90 minutes, so I did not even have the chance to go through the graph slash tree based. question. I could not even read the whole question. I was just completing the other three. So, and the other two questions, the string manipulation and the matrix manipulation one, they were very simple. And like if you have understanding of the data structure, so the question was basically arranging the string in such a way that the first and some last of element of it matches. So it was like a hash map question, and for the matrix question, it was just like making sure that whatever the element is, the surrounding elements, they are smaller or greater than it. So this was just the question. You can also do it with an ad hoc approach, but probably not all the test cases will pass. But you have an understanding of the data structure, then you can solve the question. And the DP based question was a standard Fibonacci sequence sort of a problem, like a variation of it. But once you can understand the pattern, you can easily craft the solution. So this was the idea, and the scoring, like as far as I could see, people who had solved three, or you can say two and partial, like they were then like contacted for the further rounds.
Okay. So how were the technical interview rounds?
Right. So I had two technical interview rounds. So as soon as I gave the online assessment, I heard back from them for like I think it was a week or so, and I had my first technical interview scheduled, and the technical interview, because it was now this perspective I think would differ for a lot of different people, because my experience
Yes.
was tied a lot to development and open source, and there are a lot of other folks who are working with, let's say, competitive coding. So what happens is that people get this idea that you're supposed to do development or you have to do this or that, but it's not the case. You can do anything, and if you're really good at it, then they will ask you questions based on that. So they will test you on what are the skills that you know. So my interview was like I was asked like purely more of system design and database, you can say. So my questions were like I was asked to design a video conferencing solution. So what I had to do was like pen down the entire ER diagram of it, of how we're going to like make the different meeting rooms. Like there will be some amount of resources that you have, some computing resources. So you have a limited number of meeting rooms. So how are you going to schedule it in a way that whenever like some people are there, so you can have some other vacant room. So there's a problem on lead code called meeting rooms too. So I took reference from that to understand the solution. So one part of it was like writing down the ER structure. So what would be the different classes? What would be the different entities? How are they interacting with each other? What are the foreign key relationships there? And then the other part of it was optimizing the solution on how, if we have a limited number of meeting rooms, so whenever there's some timing like start timing and end timing, how can we then be sure that okay, whenever this slot ends, we assign this room because this room becomes vacant. So this was the idea. So it was a mix of applying your coding concepts and your database or all these concepts. So this
Core
was the
subject.
yes, yeah. So this was my first technical interview round. The second technical interview round, I had two senior engineers there, and I received, I think, the mail for it like 3 4 days after the first one. So it was very quick. The process was very quick. So in the second interview round, I was asked like about my projects and my I was a outreachy intern at that time. Like my outreachy internship had just got over. So they even asked me to like share my screen and show my outreachy pull request because they had like some questions regarding that. So we like dug deeper into what exactly I was doing. So it was like a database query optimization on Ruby on Rails. So they started asking me questions on how are you optimizing the database, and whatever concepts that I mentioned, they started digging deeper to understand how well like my knowledge about the same. So this was like one aspect of it. So we discussed all of this. Then on the projects again, we discussed like what back end what like they asked some object oriented programming principles based on the code that I had like written for my projects. So like checking how the classes and how you divide it into functions, how do you like make your code modular in that sense. These were some questions. Then we had some discussion on databases. So because as I said, it was tied completely to my development experience, I had questions based on like when would you use relational databases, when would you use non-relational databases like MySQL or NoSQL, and what are the like benefits of using in certain cases. So these were some of the questions that I was asked. Now to like highlight like and I had one more question. It was again a system design question on if you have to design a leaderboard. If you have to design a leaderboard, then how would you go about it? So I think we arrived at some after some discussion of maintaining a heap of like the maximum score or something of those elements, and whenever a new entry comes into it, we need to check like the last entry and whether it exceeds the score of the last entry we put it, or otherwise we don't do it. So this was the again some system design related discussion for like how to design a leaderboard. So this was more or less the questions that I was asked in the interview. Now my interview experience was very much different than what I heard from other people, and folks who had worked with competitive coding. I covered one of this on my YouTube channel with Utkarsh, and his experience was very different. He was asked purely like the coding questions that you have. But that being said, I would definitely say for Intuit, there is a good focus on projects or the concepts that you learn through the projects. So like databases and object-oriented programming principles, you should have a good hold on these topics.
Yeah. Okay. So how much having a good project important to land such internship?
Yes, so I think this is a very popular question, but the way I see it is that like if you do not build a good project, it does not mean that you won't land an internship. So this is not something that is necessary for like landing an internship, that you must have a good project or something. But that being said, I advocate like building projects a lot, because when you build a project, you develop a thorough understanding of how actually object-oriented programming principles or database management works. And in case you would get asked questions about it, so it can be completely theoretical. Like people just prepare like last-minute GFG notes on these topics and they go for interviews and they also are able to clear it through. But if you develop a good project, then it will be something that really strikes to the interviewer, and they can ask you questions and you would also feel very confident in answering the same. Once, and it will also be on your CV. So whenever you are applying somewhere, they will also okay see like okay this person develops a lot of like good projects and they participate in hackathons, and it obviously has some merit in the sense that you already know some of the development skills that you are going to do when you get on the job. So I would say yeah, not necessary, but do develop it. Like yeah, just my recommendation.
Okay. Cool. So how was your intern experience at Intuit?
My intern experience. So I actually wrote a blog for this even, but if I have to like summarize this in some sentences, it was awesome. And the reason behind it was that the focus was a lot on learning. So when we went into the internship, we were all summer interns, and we were all thinking that okay, based on our performance, we would be getting PPOs and not getting PPOs. And I was personally given a machine learning project, and I did not have any experience with building it in actually like an industry based environment. So I was very scared that and very skeptical that how I'll perform, and I might not get TPO based on this. And I don't know why I got this project. But I spoke to my manager, and the only thing that he told me is that you know what, do not focus on the outcome, just focus on the learning. We are not evaluating whether at the end of this you have built a full-fledged model and it gets like 90% accuracy or something. No, that is not our goal. We want to see how far you can learn more about this and what are your takeaways about it. So that really like made it all simple for me. And the projects assigned there are independent, so only like I was working on this project solely. So at the start it was daunting, but as time like flew by, it was actually very good because I had the freedom to innovate. I had the freedom to make the decisions, and this was something I really respect when you work somewhere to get that freedom to do something. So the meetings that we had were also like we would discuss something and they would like leave it on me. So on how we should go about it for the like what we should do about it. So we would just discuss like the metrics and all this, and it was a really positive experience. So yeah.
Okay. So how to convert intern offer into PPA?
Yeah, I think again this is a really popular question, but the way I think about is like really depends again on the company culture that you are going for. But if I have to speak on behalf of Intuit, I would say that their focus was a lot on understanding that whether the candidate can actually is actually first willing in the sense that they are putting in hard work. They do not care about the final outcome. They want to see whether you are able to solve problem, like you have problem solving ability. You can learn things like whatever technology or stack, and you can communicate well. So these are things that I would highly ask folks to do, because there are a lot of people who are good coders but they did not know how to communicate to their managers, whether they are stuck at some problem. They feel, oh my god, how can I ask them for help and all these things. But this should not be the mindset. There should be good communication. There should be an ability to like whatever, because you will be thrown a lot of new technology. Like I was thrown this into this machine learning thing and I was like completely clueless about all of this. But that's the thing, that you have to learn, you have to adapt quickly. So I would say just focus on these two, three things. These are more general points. And with Intuit, I would just say ki, just do good work. Just stay connected with your mentors. They will provide you with mentors and buddies to connect and just talk to through your progress. So it does not have to be like you build an amazing project at the end of it, but just that you're willing to show like some merit. That's the case, I would say.
Okay. So as you mentioned that there were some coders like who were not able to communicate throughout the internship or like communicate to their managers. So soft skills are as much as important as this technical concepts, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Because when you're working as a developer, it's not about programming. You're working in a team. You're reporting to your manager about what you're doing. So it's not about who can code this entire thing or that. No, it's never about that. It's about making code that is readable, that is understandable by all, and you can also explain your solution to other people. So this is the idea. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. So audience can ask their questions in the comments section. Uh, any advice for college students?
Okay. Advice would be to just so yeah. So what happens is that we study about all of these things coming into like there's ML, AI, there's blockchain, all this, and what college students do is that all these new and coming terms will just go and we'll just do some one course on it, and we'll just shuffle between all of this without actually devoting a good amount of time to one specific thing and getting good at it. So I would say that pick one thing and try to actually dig deeper into it. Like try to build a lot of projects on it so that your understanding of it becomes actually very clear. It just should not be that okay, this is like a Udemy course and this is the they make a final project or something in that and this is all I have to show for. This should not be the case. Just dig deeper into one specific thing and build something out of it rather than just shuffling a lot between different things, new and upcoming things.
Yeah. So there is a question from Karan Garg. I have heard a lot about Intuit culture. Can you share some pros and cons of working at Intuit?
Okay. I really cannot think of fonts at the moment. But if I'm talking about the pros, the culture at Intuit is pretty amazing. As I mentioned about this, about what we discussed with my manager about just focus on the learning and not the outcome. So what Intuit has done is has built a very sustainable sort of a model It's not about quick results or outcomes. It is more about process. The whole process should how amazing it could be. And the example that I can cite from my experience there is that throughout the entire internship, we had hackathons planned. We had like so many sessions. So what sessions we had was like. They would connect us with SD1 or SD2s, and it would be a very informal session where we're just talking about our journey. They're talking about their journey, how they did it, how did they how was their entire journey at Intuit, and like in 1 or 2 years. And then we had like sessions with the co-op interns, and the reasoning was that because they are in the same age group as us, they just we were summer interns, they were co-op interns, so we could relate more and we can talk more about and discuss more about it. So in a way, the whole culture was trying to eliminate any sort of barriers that we may have in the journey. So they were setting up us with all sorts of networking opportunities within the organization. There's as I mentioned, a freedom to innovate in the thing that you're working on. There's a lot of focus on not working for yourself, but working for others, in the sense that there's a lot of giving back to the community. Even the hackathon that we worked on, it was in partnership with an NGO, and we were building accessibility solutions for them. So there's always like a giving back sort of element to it. So all of this tied together, I think, builds into its culture to something else. They really care about the employees. When the day I left, we had like a board where you can just give appreciation to the person who's like, my farewell sort of work. And everyone was coming and they were writing down comments of their experience of working with me. So I felt very valued, just like as an intern. And I think these are things that huge big tech companies actually need to recognize. And this is why Intuit can retain talent like much better than the other companies because of building the sustainable model.
Hmm. Hmm. So there is another question. I have heard that Intuit has a automated resume screening and then the manual HR resume screening. Any insights over this?
Okay, I don't know where you heard this from, but as far as I know, so during, as I mentioned, I can like we interns also had the ability to refer a lot of people. So I referred a lot of folks during this time, and everyone who passed the eligibility criteria of having 7+ GPA, I think, and the computer science or electronics background, all of them received the coding round link to just participate there. So like every resume that I forwarded, every one of them got that link to participate in the coding test. And I think that is the same for a lot of folks, my friends in intern friends, who also referred other people and they got the coding link. So I'm not. I don't think it's like an automated resume screening, because then it could have like faltered and they would not have got the chance. So yeah, definitely open to hearing more about this one. Yeah.
Okay. There is another question. How much development did you do other than ML?
Okay. Within the internship period or like prior to this, like for the interview?
I think prior to the interview
Prior to
process.
it, right? Okay. So
Yeah.
I have like I started development in my first year only, so I was working a lot with open source. So I participated in programs like Outreachy, Linux Foundation mentorship, and like Google Season of Docs, and all of these open source programs I participated in. So like I was comfortable with a lot of I primarily worked with backend development, so I worked with technologies like Ruby on Rails, Django, Flask, Java, Spring Boot, and build small projects on it. And if you like contribute to open source, then you get a huge like deep understanding of how huge systems work, because that's just the problem of like when you contribute to open source. One of the huge problems that you might face as a beginner is that the code base is really huge. How do you contribute to it? But once you understand that thing, you will understand that okay, how do you build such huge systems? How do you modularize the code into different compartments, and how do you do all of that? So I think that was a really huge skill that I learned through working in open source. And yeah, so that's pretty much like it. Just consistently developing projects and contributing to open source, I would say.
Okay. Next question is, and another thing, how many months of preparation did you do for the internship?
So I would say mine would be a very special case because my the time before this happened was like May to August period was my outreach internship actually going on. So I had to prepare while working 40 hours like per week. We had that, and I also had to prepare on top of it. But the interesting thing was that I was not like the interview experience was not completely based on coding rounds or something like that. It was based on my experience in development in open source. So I would say, although my preparation time would have been like 2 to 3 months with while working in outreachy, but because I had worked a lot in the development space before prior to it, so it all added up. So I won't exactly say it's like a 2 to 3 month sort of preparation. It was all like because I had built all of that. So something of that sort.
Okay, there is a question, are the number of technical rounds or interview rounds different for the off-campus and on-campus ones?
So as far as I have heard, they have 2 to 3 interview rounds. So within the second or the third round, they will then decide whether they should have one more round or not. So what happened in my case was that right after the second interview round, it happened in the morning, and in the evening I got the offer. So this was the situation. It happened, yeah, it happened the same day. So it was how fast the process was. So it can depend, like depending on if they feel like they want to ask some more questions to you, they want to get to know more of like more understanding of where you stand. So they might conduct more interview rounds. So yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, I think this much of questions only we have from the audience. Yeah. So thank you, Sneha, for coming live with us, and thank you so much for such an amazing session.
Thank you so much, Mansi, for having me, and for all the folks watching. I do have a request, like if you folks are interested into open source or these things, then definitely check out my work as well. I also have a YouTube channel, like not as huge as this one, but it's a very small channel. But I do talk a lot about open source and how to contribute there. So definitely, if it is something you're interested in, have a look.
Surely, we'll add it in the description.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sneha.
Thank you so much, Mansi.